You're tuned in to the Connection Podcast. We are a team of content creators and digital marketers connecting you each week to successful entrepreneurs and marketing experts that provide informational, inspirational, and motivational success stories in the world of digital marketing. Yo, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Connection Podcast, episode 17. Not 52. We're getting close to the end of the year, and we promised everybody 52 shows, or at least we wanted to do 52. But, you know, real work comes first.
Yeah.
What's up, Javon?
How's it going?
Going really well. I've been missing the show. I hope you've been missing the show, listening or watching.
I'm still trying to hop back into it. I feel kind of weird on the mic, and
Me too. This is like a whole new experience, actually.
Yeah,
It's like we're starting over, huh?
Yeah.
Today's episode is going to be all about starting your own podcast. You know, what does it take to do what we're doing here? You know, and for those of you watching, and or if this is your first time watching, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Follow us on iTunes and Spotify for your favorite podcast platform. And yeah, but before we dive in, how about Alejandro behind the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s over there?
What's up, America?
How about you, Alejandro? You've been missing the podcast?
I've been missing the podcast very much.
Yeah.
Do I look at that camera?
You can look over there. You can look at the camera. You can talk to the people.
Hey, people. I miss you.
Well, we've definitely missed being on the show, and definitely it was not our intention to start such a fun show and something that we've been enjoying doing week in and week out. And but after our last show with Mandy Lindquist from the Rodeo, which was in the summer.
Yeah.
We're now almost at Christmas.
Yeah, it's almost the new year.
Almost the new year, and barely show 17. But what a lot of people don't realize is that all of this production equipment, cameras, cables, production switcher, it gets put to work.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's how we make our business.
Yeah. This room gets taken apart maybe like once or twice a week or something.
Oh,
I think. More than that.
It's crazy. People that actually don't see the amount of work it takes to that I put into getting the show back up and running. And I think every time I say, all right, let's have a show, it's usually a good half day to a day of planning.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys see me, I plug away, and I'm over here crawling on the floor, reconnecting wires and everything. No, but it definitely feels good to be back. And shoot, you missed Star Wars last night.
I did.
But we took Alejandro with us.
Yeah, it was good. Really good movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No spoilers?
No spoilers.
No.
There is one.
Don't be dropping no spoilers, but what was your favorite part? Did you like it?
I loved it. The
Yeah.
seats were great, and I really enjoyed it when the X-Wing got pulled out of the water.
That was your favorite part?
That was my favorite part.
Really?
What was yours?
I don't know. I don't know what my favorite part was. I think I got a little emotional towards the end. You know, the movie had my emotions kind of all up and down, actually, to be honest with you. I think there was two parts. Oh, man.
Is this the end of the
Oh,
end?
Chewie!
Oh, Chewie.
Chewie! Hey, yeah, I took my daughter, my 2-year-old.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my gosh. When Chewie was on the screen, she's like, Chewie!
Cute.
Chewie! She knows R2.
Nice.
Yeah, so, but that movie, I'll be honest, it was a wonderful movie. Nothing what the critics were saying it was going to be. Rotten Tomatoes gave it something like 50%, which I don't know what they're smoking, because I thought it was well done. It was nothing like the Game of Thrones season ender finale, whatever you want to call it. It was a great movie.
Yeah.
A little fast.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been probably two movies. What do you think, Alejandro?
Yeah, I definitely.
We won't no spoilers.
Just going really fast from spot to another. I was like, man, should have been a longer movie.
Could have been a little longer, huh?
Yeah.
Could have been a little longer. Things were going a little fast. It's kind of like, ooh, how did he pop back into it, you know? But anyways, for those of you Star Wars fans out there, for my Star Wars geeks, those Star Wars geeks might like my Star Wars Christmas collection right over my shoulder over here. But here we go, starting your own podcast. Yeah? Man. So where do we start? I mean, I think there's a lot to go over. But first off, and the reason we thought about putting this in particular show together was because in addition to using our tools for various jobs and whatnot, I've been having an ongoing and growing request to make for clients to make their own podcasts.
Yeah.
They've been seeing what we're doing. You guys love what we do, which is great, and which I appreciate. It's flattering. But you guys want to actually, your clients want to create this for themselves because they know it's where our future is headed, our future of marketing, digital marketing especially. How do you get your message to your new clients, to your old clients? How do you establish yourself as being credible in your field or your market? So what better way than through video online? And or now podcast, which is an audio experience through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening to, in the gym, where maybe you're just at work on a road trip and you're just plugging in and you're taking a listen to the connection. Hopefully we still got all of our listeners.
Hopefully
they're gonna see an alert pop up. Oh, there's another show. Hopefully that happens to us. But no. But on the real. There's an ongoing request, and so, we as what we didn't do, and just being honest and being open and transparent, we haven't actually put together our own list of what it takes to start your own podcast, when what you should plan for and what you should expect,
I think that actually makes us more credible for this episode because we kind of just rushed into it not knowing what to expect. We just said just do it, and now that we kind of could take a step back and look like retrospectively, what do you need, now that we've already went and done it for before everyone else, and now they're coming to us, and now it's like our time to kind of share what exactly it is you need to start a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing, another first thing, because I keep saying first thing. Cut that out, Alejandro. Edit that. No, but it's really important for our listeners to understand, and especially when they're calling me, what is a podcast? Javon, let's just say you're a client, you're calling me, hey, Alex, I see that podcast you guys are doing, and I want to start a podcast. Well,
I want one of those.
First of all, I may ask you, well, where'd you listen to us? iTunes, Spotify, and they're going to say, no, we saw you on Facebook, or we saw you on YouTube. Well, this here, if you're watching it, this isn't a podcast, a quote unquote podcast. This is a TV show, right? Alejandro, would you call this a TV show?
Yeah, I would call it a TV show.
This is a TV show. This is a YouTube show.
Yeah.
This is what this is. We can call it a podcast we want. We can call it a video cast. We could call it a series, an online series, whatever, But this is not what quote unquote a podcast is. However, we have the advantage of being able to record our podcast, and podcast is an audio experience.
Yeah.
Again, through iTunes or Spotify or whatever your favorite platform, Google, or we're capturing the audio in the highest of quality and sharing it like a radio show. And it's not a radio show because it's not broadcasted over the wave, over the satellite. It's through the internet, through your favorite app that you use on your phone, or now these days apps in your car, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I wanted everybody to that's out there listening that may be interested, especially within our market, or maybe you're just on the East Coast. You're going to go speak to your production company or your team, and you're going to say, I want a podcast, but I want it to be like this. Well, again, this video, if you're watching the video, is not considered a podcast. It's the audio form that becomes the podcast.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when you're making that initial call, you should identify those one of the other, because the cost is significantly different. And depending on, again, we're not going to get into any type of cost or fees besides the fact that producing your own podcast or publishing, let's use the word publishing, not producing. Publishing your own podcast is free, right?
Just about free.
Just about free, besides your time. Alejandro, have you encountered any charges anywhere? Have I made any fees, paid anything that I don't know about?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Yeah. I don't think so. So everything that we've done to this date, besides the actual time that we invest, us sitting here, or my time putting together the tools it takes to do this video show and or this audio experience, has been on our own dime. But yeah, I mean, it's, from there you basically start to consider the time that you take to build your show, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we may have a client that has, at this point now, the client has an idea.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, we got the idea, whether it's video and or audio experience. You want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, I mean, so before you even start anything, you like, I think like the clients that have been coming up to us and asking, or asking us to do a podcast for them, they already have their initial idea. They already know what they want to talk about, what the topic's going to be. So that's where you want to start when you plan out your podcast. So step one, you want to have to pre-plan.
Yeah.
You have your topic, you have your central theme, you have your target audience, who you're going to attract, or whether that be a potential customer or if that's just someone trying to follow in your footsteps as a professional. You have all that set so that way you could gear all of your content towards that, and then from there you have the opportunity as a professional to kind of like show your expertise, and make that your, how do you say it,
Your niche.
Yeah, make that your niche, and show people that your credibility, and that you're good at what you do, so that way it brings customers or listeners and whoever else into the podcast.
Yeah, basically your target.
Yeah.
Who's your target? In pre-production, a lot of people don't realize how difficult it could be to plan a show like this.
Yeah.
However, on the flip side, a lot of us overthink it. You know what I'm saying? So, this show in particularly, I think we did 3 pilots before we even launched our first show. And our first show wasn't even directly, it was just like, okay, cool, we got a guest and let's just start talking, I mean, but those first 3 pilots, they were just trial and error and tests for us. Nobody's ever viewed them. You guys will never view them. Though I shared them with a couple friends and family, just get some, thoughts. And not everybody's going to have that type of, that luxury.
Yes, like definitely one thing that you want to think about when you are pre-planning is, do you have enough content or enough or if your ideas will produce enough content? How many episodes are you going to have? Maybe would that be 5 episodes or 10 episodes or 15 episodes? You have to make sure that you have enough talking points or enough content to release every single week. And that's where I feel like sometimes we're kind of scrambling around to figure out what are we going to talk about for the next podcast.
Absolutely.
I mean, we made it 17 episodes in. I mean, that's already a lot of content, but moving forward, it's like, okay, how long can I talk about this topic?
Yeah, I watch. I think everybody in the world watches guys like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I mean, and that guy just sits there and he got podcasts that are, and people tell me, we don't want it to be an hour though. We don't want it to be, any longer than like 30 minutes because everybody's going to lose interest. Well, you'd be really surprised. You'd be really surprised. So think about the length. The length of their show should be well thought of. You know what I mean? And what their target may be interested in, or how long their target may be interested or being engaged for. You know what I'm saying? But when you're watching somebody like Joe Rogan, it's like, whoa, this is a 3.5 hour talk.
It's very intimate. You get to actually hear their real point of view, very like uncut, and just like that's what kind of draws you into it, and
that's what draws me in. It's raw. It's just it's just people talking, and I think people like to engage or to jump in to that conversation and maybe have some that gives them some good talking points the next day at work.
And even having that in your ear, it makes it feel like you're actually talking to that person. So that's why I think podcasts have are having like a huge effect now, because people are just throwing on their their earphones, listening, and it just seems like that person is just like giving you their own personal advice or their own knowledge, and you're just gonna carry that with you like forever. How long?
Yeah, definitely. And, back to the point of, we had the luxury of making 3 pilot shows and this, that, and the other thing. But again, you don't have to overthink it.
Yeah.
I said that. You don't have to overthink it. And going back to using the same name, Joe Rogan, one of the biggest podcasters in the world, I mean, look at some of his early podcasts. He's just one man talking to a computer screen by himself, and he's probably using like one of these, what do you call it, FaceTime app, or that app on the Apple's computer that I don't even know what it's called. But anyways, it's a screen sharing, a screen recording app, and he's just recording his voice and his message, and his podcast very much started just like that, conversation with him to his audience.
Yeah.
you know, and people wanted to listen. And it was a video experience first that then translated into the audio.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to planning what your objective is, who your target audience is, how many people are going to be on your show, or is it just a one-on-one platform? Or, you know, is it 4 people, 3 people? All things you got to consider.
Yeah, and like I think one of the things too is like you have to think. I think you also have to weigh out the pros and cons of doing purely audio and purely video, because having a guest on the show, maybe that might be, you know, it'd be really cool to have video, you know what I mean? Or if you're just merely narrating or telling a story, maybe it'd be good to just do audio, you know, unless you have like, I guess maybe a PowerPoint or some sort of presentation, or even like if you're doing some wild things that you can't just imagine, like, you know, when you're listening to a radio show, you're like what's the one on KDON?
People
like,
don't know Kadon.
or is it like the morning? Oh, sorry. When, you know, they're prank calling people, or they're like doing stuff in the studio, like maybe like doing some sort of like April Fool's prank on someone, and
you can just vision it.
Yeah, you just have to envision it, but like having video as, you know, one of your as one of the things pushing the podcast, that's definitely like something you would want to weigh out when you're pre-planning. Like, should it be video? Should it just be audio? Right. Like if you're a chiropractor, you know, maybe the chiropractor might want to show like a technique, and then video would definitely be like the route to go for a podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's actually a really great point, because that brings you back to that pre-production planning, to where, okay, well, we know that our budget needs to work in this direction, and we know we should plan for more, because we're going to need those types of experiences to get. It's all about content these days. Content. Every single marketer, digital marketer that you go talk to is going to push content. And if you are just creating, again, just the audio experience, you're creating great content, but yet then you're going to want to put that on Instagram, and you might not have the video picture to share with it. So then you got to create a animated, you know, video over
that is
it,
true.
a picture, a screenshot.
There's very much limited options when it comes to marketing a podcast, because all you really have for the podcast is audio. So if you have visuals that you could use as, you know, secondary content for promotion, like video would definitely be a good way to just use, or the way to harness that power of like video, which is the most engaging type of media to use as promotion. Yeah,
gotcha. Most people coming to us already have an idea, concept, their theme, you know. You know, it might not be a good it might be a good idea, not that it might not. It will be a good idea if you have your show name. Maybe you start to develop a logo, a look and feel, you know, especially, it doesn't even matter if it's video or experience or not, you know, you're going to need some sort of cover image for your actual thumbnail once it makes it to iTunes, Spotify, whatever. Once it makes it to the platform, you're going to need a screenshot of what the show cover art. A nice logo would help with that. Again, are you one person? Are you informing people? You know, are you interviewing people? Great points. You know, what type of platform are you going to be pushing? You know, are people coming to listen to you because this is just a great talk show, or is it informative? You know, and then, you know, it's sometimes actually Alejandro tells us all the time. You're like, the podcast, there's not enough arguing on the podcast. We're not debating enough. We're not debating enough on it.
Some fights.
Yeah.
I build that drama. Ratings go up.
Boost our ratings with the little vocal drama right here, right? But no, seriously, sometimes you know could just get 3, 4, 5 mics around a table. That might be your show, you know, debating about last night's Star Wars. You know what I mean? And you got 4 people around a table, and 2 people are going to think it sucked, and 2 people are going to think it's great, you know, and they're going to debate that, and people love hearing that, you know. People want to imagine themselves weighing in on that conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it gives them talking points, again, when they're wanting to sound like the smartest guy in the room, right? Right? At the Christmas party, at the next Christmas party, right? So, I mean, again, I'm a podcast listener, and I think everybody in this room is, and and we hope that you are too. You know, Javon, then a lot of people come, actually, a lot of people that then watch the show, or, you know, that I asked to come and sit down and be my guest. It happened, they ask the question all the time. They're like, oh, yeah, I want to sit and talk with you, but do I have to wear the headphones? Yeah, which brings us on our next topic, equipment, you know. And, you know, I know a lot of people that are like maybe like on radio shows and or on other podcasts, you know, they wear the headphones and they understand. They'll know why. And as we dive a little bit into this next little topic, you know, step 2, you know, equipment, whether you're hiring the production company or you're trying to get all of your own equipment, you know, why do I need to spend the extra $50 for a pair of headphones, you know? So, and I'll dive into that. But really starting with, I mean, a podcast can cost you, like we said just a minute ago, nothing. You know, you don't necessarily, if you have a modern day cell phone today, you can start your own podcast. You know, you can download an app or just open up your recorder, sit around a table in a quiet room amongst your friends, colleagues, whatever, you know, show host, whatever you want to call it, start talking into the phone and record your show. You know, I mean, news reporters are doing sports press interviews and holding their phone out into the sport athletes' faces because they're getting great recordings and it's usable for their news. You know, it might not be the best recording, but you've got to weigh that out. You, the listener, gotta decide what's our budget.
And again, that goes kind of back to like what your goal is. You know, when you're pre-planning, like what am I doing this for, and what's my topic, and you know, when you're pre-planning, you have to know, again, like you said, your budget, like what's the scale that I'm going to do this on, and how are my listeners going to benefit from what I'm giving them? Do they need the high-end stuff? Do they, you know, do they need video? Do they need just audio? I think that's one of the things that you definitely have to consider when, you know, you get to the recording stage.
Do we need a video mixer? Do we need 4 cameras in the room or 5 cameras in the room? Do we need a big screen TV? No. You know, again, we're talking about quote unquote podcast. Podcast is an audio experience. You know, so it's an audio experience. I want everybody to really just understand that a podcast is an audio experience. You're gonna go, somebody say, come be on my podcast. Great. There's not gonna be cameras in the room. It's an audio experience, right? Right?
Yeah, we just so happen to have all the cameras.
We just so happen to also be making a YouTube show, right? So, which is a big, huge difference, you know, and it's a game changer, you know. I think it also drives people to go over to listen to your audio experience because they're not always going to tune into YouTube and or, you know, again, back to driving in the car and listening to, you know, from your commute for us from the Bay Area to the the Monterey Bay Area to the, you know, San Francisco Bay Area. That's an hour and a half commute. You know, there's some good content you could be listening to there. But you know, equipment wise, what is your budget? You know, and you could go on Amazon.com, pick up a USB microphone, connect it directly to your computer, maybe $50, $100, depending, of course, as they start to go up in cost, you know, they probably have a little bit more crispier of a sound, maybe some extra little gain switch or compressor switch or something on that in particular mic, and that will benefit your sound quality. You know, as you start to move into a room like ours, then you start getting into some nicer microphones. You start to move into an actual, you know, audio mixer with great preamps, EQs on them, and then you send that to your recorder and or to your computer doing a multi-track recording. You know, there are a lot of good equipment. There's a lot of like equipment packages out there, which you can Google and you can say podcast equipment, you know, and they'd put together, you know, many websites. And again, we're not being sponsored by any website that we put out there or any, you know, so I'm just sending you to where we would shop. But you might want to jump on like B&H Photo and just Google and look at BH Photo online. Go to your local DJ store or music store, and they may have a good mixer, a couple microphones, and a recorder, such as a Zoom H4n H6N, you know, or equivalent, which might cost you starting at $200, and a couple microphones, $100 each, and a nice mixer, maybe $150, $500-$600. You're on your way to making a nice, crisp sounding podcast, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I have a question. So for someone, say like, so that's like, you know, your regular person just trying to get into it. For someone who's, I know I listen to some podcasts where there are like sound effects and there's like, you know, there's reverb or like echo to like to emphasize certain things, and I know, I mean, I'm pretty sure the person that's actually talking into the mic, that's actually, you know, hosting the show, isn't behind the scenes like cutting it and, you know, editing it. So how, for someone that might want to do that, like what are you looking at? I know this is
Great question. Great question. All right, so check it out. Switch over to my computer, Alejandro. I wasn't even expecting you to ask that question, man. So there is some new tools. What we would use to bring in the sound effects are some higher end video production tools. I use an application called Playback Pro, which loads videos, audio, you know, and we could do some playback that way. But you could purchase yourself. Oh shoot! Many people have an iPad. Okay. You know what I mean? Many people have an iPad, and they can just download an app that's like a sound like a sound box. You know what I mean? Like a trigger box. So each individual trigger will give them the sound that they want. You know what I mean? Whether it be like a show intro or like dun, 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 or whatever. You know? Yeah. So whatever your little controller using an iPad, if you have one of those, or your cell phone. You know, there's apps that you can download for that. You would plug in you can't really see it on my computer, but my computer's plugged in through a hard wire right here, sending sound directly to my mixer. Actually, go back to that shot. Yeah, go back to that shot. Or you could purchase something from BH Photo, something like this Rodecaster that just came out. It's a little 4-channel mixer. It also, it not only records your sound, it's got control on 4 levels for 4 microphones, as well as a Bluetooth controller. Oh, cool. So if you have a wireless Bluetooth device, such as your cell phone or something, you can still, you can use one channel for that. It also has a USB in controller, which will give you a stereo sound as well. This is an amazing little tool that they put together for $600. It also has some triggers, 8 triggers there on the side. You could program your show intros, you know, your funny, I don't know, your funny sound effects, you know, right into that app right there. I believe those are triggers, MIDI triggers right there. But what a great little device from Rode, $600. That's been out for about 6 months or so now. We're not picking one of those up. You know, we've got some bigger tools than this. However, you pick up one of these tools, a few microphones, a couple of headsets, and actually this has, I believe, 4 headset outputs. Yeah, 4 headset outputs. You know, and for us, we actually have a little headphone preamp right here coming from our mixer for our headphones. Back to the headphone thing. Why do we wear headphones? Why do people wear headphones, especially on a video? Why are you wearing headphones? You know, Javon, can you hear me pretty good right now?
Yeah, I hear you really well.
You hear me really crisp, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can hear myself. Alejandro can hear me even if I'm whispering.
We
hear you great. You know? So, I mean, there you go, right there. You know, that answers our question. I mean, like, why would you wear a set of headphones? I hear the guy right across from me, crystal clear. I hear the guy at the end of the room, crystal clear. You're picking up all kinds of frequencies through headphones. It's amplifying the sound, right? But in addition to that, what I tell my guests is you can hear yourself as you start to pull away from the microphones, and that will train you that you got to come back to hear yourself. Equally, you know. Some people don't like to hear themselves, though. You know, I'm
still getting used to that.
They feel uncomfortable with that, but you don't want to change the tone. You know what I mean? Because that's not going to sound good in the recording if now I'm 10 inches from the microphone and I can tell the difference when I'm wearing the headset. You know, you want the best audio experience possible. Yeah, and that's what's important. And so that's why I encourage my guest and myself to wear the headphones, you know?
Yeah.
So
have you ever heard, have you ever come across a podcast that was streaming that had just complete completely bad sound?
Yes, yes and no, because kind of going all the way back to the beginning of like, I mean, a bad production is still a great production, and it's still a production that we're not, you know what I mean, even us, let's just, we're 17 shows in, and we said we were trying to get 52, but the thing is if we would have just recorded a show on the phone, then we probably could have been at 30, 40, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes crap is still good, you know what I mean? Like, as long, it's because it's content, you know what I mean? If you're capturing, if the message is good, if the experience, you know what I mean? If that's really what it is. The experience is good, then it's a good show.
Yeah.
But if you just, you know, don't really have anything to, if your message isn't really great, you know, and your audio experience is terrible, I mean, well then, yeah, people are going to tune away from it. The shows that I've heard are usually people that set the microphone in the middle of the room, and everybody's just kind of talking around one mic, and a lot of people don't pay attention to the fact that the mic is directional. You know, they're placing people behind the microphone, and they're trying to pick their sound up. You know, so they sound like they're in an empty, hollow room. You know, so you could barely hear them. And we want to be sure that you're pointing the microphone, if you're only using one, in the, make sure it's right in front of their faces, you know, and pointing right in the direction of the person that's speaking. So that's why I say yes and no, you know, and I've heard them, some bad ones out there, but again, the content is generally, if I'm clicking in, it's probably, I've heard something else that they've done that's probably pretty good, and I'm digging their message. So
it nevertheless is getting out there.
Yeah, getting out there. Yeah, you know, we're not going to dive into what type of microphones, but those that may be interested, again, I think these are the Shure SM58s, SM58 mics that we use. Probably not the absolute best mics out there, but it's what I actually purchased, like 4 or 5 of them for other shows or other events that we've done, handhelds, and for this studio and for our purpose, they work fantastic, you know. But again, won't go too much deep into all of our equipment, but what we will do is we'll make a little equipment list, mark it on our website. You can visit us at magwoodmedia.com, right on our website, and or on the description below, we'll have some bullet points there of equipment that we use. Again, none of it's affiliate, no affiliate links, no sponsor, no nothing. We're just sharing this information with you guys because we know that many of you guys out there are excited to get started at some point into 2020. You know, keeping the show right, moving along in the sense of, you know, for time, for time purposes here. Trying to keep this podcast short and sweet for you guys today, but or we've planned it. We've created it, whether it's through a production company or through something as basic as your own phone. Now you want to get it out there. How do you get it to the world? How do you host it? How do you plug your message? How do you upload your thumbnail? You know, where do we go from there? Where does the client go from there? And actually, this should be part of pre-production, because starting your podcast takes about a week before iTunes and Spotify and everybody approve you to say, all right, this is legit. They're doing something, you know? So, you know, how do you, lead us into it, Javon, and then I'll pick up.
I mean, the reason why podcasts work is because nowadays, especially, is because everyone's switching over to streaming services such as iTunes and Spotify. That's where I listen to most of my podcasts, and I believe there's Stitcher. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Stitcher.
And then there's, I mean, YouTube, which that's not necessarily a
podcast service,
but we put our episodes up on there.
Yeah.
So is there a one-stop shop for everybody to go through, or do they have to manually go through every platform, or how would that work for someone that's just trying to get it out there?
So on the quicker end, and back to me saying creating a podcast is getting it out there to the world. Publishing your podcast is free, totally free. Actually, we use Alejandro. If you switch to my computer, let's show everybody. Let me close this page. We don't need this one anymore. We use this website. Anchor, again, they're not paying us. They're not paying us. Actually, I haven't actually dived deep enough to see if there's some paid paid features, but if your show is good enough and your platform's good enough, they'll actually pay you. You know, you can acquire sponsors like from Squarespace and whatnot. If we in this podcast decided we wanted to create a Squarespace ad, I mean, they could be paying us, you know, 20 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents, you know what I mean? $1 here and there, whatever, however many listeners we have. But I mean, super amazing. These guys have created this platform for us to upload all our the description, thumbnail, etc. And then it force feeds it to the world or to all the other platforms. Makes it really simple. I believe they're not the only one in the market that's a platform like this. But what's great about it is that right from the phone, right from your app on the phone, because you could put the app on your phone, on your iPad or your phone, your desktop, and you can actually record right to your microphone, right on your device, and start making your podcast. It's plain and simple.
Nice.
We kind of go the long route, and we then export the MP3, upload the MP3, and away we go. But some pretty popular people out there are using it, and we do too. And for me, it makes it easy. I'm pumped. And actually, let's see if I could just sign in real quick.
But yeah, the good thing about that too, like now that I'm thinking about it from like a marketing perspective, is that it, you know, launches it to multiple platforms, meaning that your podcast is more likely to be found, right? It's not just living on one thing like Spotify or just on iTunes. It's going to be launched everywhere, anywhere and everywhere.
But it has analytics, and 90% of our listeners are coming from the United States, 3% from the United Kingdom. Actually, I've made some YouTube friends from the United Kingdom where through videos that I've created and then texting back or commenting back to them. And so that's been pretty cool. Hopefully, maybe it's them that are listening. Simple as upload your new episode, record right from the computer, you know, add music and sound effects right through the app.
Nice.
I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy.
Sick.
It's super cool. So, entirely free. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's cool. What do you think, Alejandro?
I think it looks pretty good.
So Anchor makes it super easy for everyone. You know, there's other ways to go about it. You could do an RSS podcast specific RSS feed and attach that to your website. And then you more than likely need to have a developer to help you embed that or to get that to work through your website. But then at that point, once you have that feed created, it would then force the messages to the platforms such as iTunes, Spotify, etc.
Okay, so you're saying that you could put it on your website and then having an RSS specific feed would push it to everything else.
Everything else, yeah.
Okay.
And someone out there, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're listening to this, if you're a web developer, whatnot, correct me if you're wrong. But we haven't done that through our own website. But there are podcast-specific RSS feeds. Yeah, it can't be just an RSS feed or like your blog, you know, and you can't just post it to your blog because it will only take the content, the text content. It won't take the audio. It has to be a podcast-specific RSS feed, and that XML file or whatever that you're submitting to iTunes or the platform, it needs to understand that there's an audio file there embedded. But if there's any web developers out there that want to leave a comment, they maybe have some more insight, maybe a good website, a good YouTube video, leave a comment, drop a comment. We'd love to have it, right? What else? Actually, that kind of wraps everything up. Actually, one last thing about Anchor. I said it's one click, one everything, but your initial setup, just so everybody at home knows and those listening, you need to still set up your own account with iTunes. You still need to set up, you need to actually copy and paste a link from Anchor over in iTunes, over at Spotify, Stitcher, etc. They're not just going to magically know that you're there. You actually have to go and set up these accounts and then tell Anchor, I have all these accounts set up. So there is a little work to be done. I will like to say it takes about a week to get going.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, those are some of the basics on getting started with your podcast. What do you think, Javon?
I think this is a gold mine of information for those who are ready to just get going.
I agree. So if you missed our show and you missed seeing our handsome faces. Smash that like button, just smash that like button right now. Make sure you subscribe. Alejandro,
Happy New Year's, America.
he's gonna go down as the awkward producer behind us. Is that it? That's our show for today.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it, Javon?
That's it. I guess that's it.
I think that's it. Well, make sure you get out there and go watch Star Wars.
I definitely have to.
And we won't keep anybody for hours long on this one, but we hope that this was extremely helpful in getting you started with your podcast. We hope that if you have any questions, you send us an email. You can send me an email personally at alex@mag1productions or alex@mag1media.com. Visit our website. We'll be posting a podcast link there here really soon. After you watch this show, it might not be there quite yet because we're pushing it to Christmas, but we're building that new page. But again, we just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is you celebrate. Happy New Year. We're looking forward to 2020 where we're going to have a lot more of the Connection Podcasts. That's it for today. Peace.